Travel along, Catholic pilgrims, as we read letters from the voyages of St. Frances Cabrini as she traveled around the Western Hemisphere sharing the good news of Christ. Hello, Catholic pilgrims. Today, Mother Cabrini will finish telling the students in Rome about the opening of the hospital in Chicago. And if you remember from last time, there was some worry it wouldn't be open on time, but it does open on time. Lots of hard work went into making sure that it did, within regulations and with everything being done well. So we will start on page 315 at the second paragraph, and let's go ahead and begin. The opening of a hospital, though it is a great event for the medical profession, does not awaken great sympathy in the public, as people shrink from these asylums of pain. Great then was the surprise of the worthy Archbishop Quigley when he saw himself surrounded by 4,000 people who crowded around the chapel and reception rooms to hear him speak. Several thousand people were sent away, as there was no room nor any hope of their being accommodated at the ceremony. All agreed that there had never been such enthusiasm over the opening of a hospital in the United States as there was on this occasion. It was the Lord's Day, the work of the Lord. The morning ceremony was purely religious and consisted of the blessing of the house by the Archbishop, followed by a long procession of people. There was a solemn high mass with a sermon by His Grace the Archbishop. A pleasant surprise awaited the congregation at the close of His Grace's touching sermon when the Archbishop read a telegram from His Holiness the Pope, who sent his blessing. You, young ladies, who are so privileged at seeing His Holiness so frequently and receiving his blessing, experience holy emotions in your souls. You can imagine, then, with what enthusiasm this telegram was received by the doctors and guests. It came as a heavenly message. It was as precious as the distance is great which lies between these shores and the vicar of Christ. Not knowing how they could better express their gratitude, they asked me to send a telegram of thanks to His Holiness, which I did very willingly, as I was so pleased to see how well the Holy Father's precious blessing was received. As for myself, I look upon the blessing of His Holiness as a pledge of heavenly favors, for I have always noticed that success attends every work which has been sealed by it. The hand of the Holy Father is never raised in vain. Blessed are you who are able to receive His blessing from Him personally. Protected by such a powerful shield, have courage, for His Holiness's blessing will extend to your families, interests, studies, and examinations. At the dinner, the function was enhanced by a select musical program interspersed with eloquent speeches by the most eminent persons present, i.e., Dr. Murphy, Chief Justice Bertano, and other distinguished personages and visitors. The medical faculty of the city classify our hospital as one of the first order. All agree that it is in a most charming position and that its architectural features stamp it one of the best in Chicago. As for modern requirements of science, everything is of the latest. Every ward is governed according to the hygienic laws of modern surgery. There are several operation rooms, offices for sterilization, other rooms for electricity, x-rays, etc. Annexed to it is a training college for nurses who, after 3 years' training, obtain their diploma. The hospital is situated in the vicinity of a park with a splendid view of Lake Michigan. One might say that nature, with its invigorating and oxygenated atmosphere, and the science of the doctors who form the medical staff, go hand in hand to secure the well-being of the patients who, in this place of rest, come to seek their health and to recuperate their strength. I believe it will please you to hear some of the points of Dr. Murphy's speech, which was a glory to the Church and our beautiful land. He remarked that as our country was first in science and art, so also can she boast of being first in the field of charity. Before the coming of Christianity, there were no institutions, no expressions of fraternal charity like those of our modern hospitals. Even ancient Greece, with all its culture and civilization, ignored this noble sentiment and hardly took care of its wounded soldiers. But Christ came into the world, lighted the fire of charity, and Italy had the glory of having the first hospital in Rome, followed soon after by one in the Campagna Romana. Some centuries passed before other nations followed her example in these works of charity, amongst which was England. The Holy Catholic Church did this work and continued to practice it all through the Middle Ages, and there was no convent that had not annexed to it an infirmary where the poor and the sick were succored. Now the Columbus Hospital has begun its beneficent work for society, and great numbers of sick seek its shelter and remain within its walls willingly. We have patients from Colorado and California. As soon as I saw the hospital settled, I returned to these western states, and now I am amidst the mountains of Colorado. Whilst I write, the President of the United States has arrived triumphantly in Denver after being away for 3 months hunting bears amongst the Rocky Mountains. 10 fell victims to his gun, and he is sending the skins to Washington for his daughter, Alice, who asked for them. I have not been able to follow him and admire the wonderful birds which build their nests in the highest peaks of the Rocky Mountains, for this is not my mission, nor have I the strength to do so. But in this splendid state, which is named, as they say, after its multicolored mountains, there are flowers and birds of the most brilliant and variegated colors. Let us thank God, who allows such rays of his infinite beauty and power to fall on this earth. The citizens of Denver wish to name President Roosevelt honorary member of the Press Association of Denver. Do you know what kind of diploma was offered him? In the neighboring mines, they excavated a quantity of gold which they fused in their big foundry. This was then drawn out into a shining sheet of the most pure and solid gold, upon which they engraved in silver, a product of Colorado also, the formula of aggregation. This was in turn studded around with the most precious stones to be found there. What a beautiful gift! There are like wonders in California, where I am going as soon as I have bought the ground for our orphanage. Here it is the mineral kingdom which boasts of its wonders. There the vegetable kingdom opens another page of the book of the beauties of the universe, a pale image of the Most High. To him, then, let us turn our souls, created by him and for him, those souls in which he has infused a great attraction for the beautiful and great, a proof of our high origin and the end for which we were created. Let us raise ourselves up from this earth, and since we cannot fly from it, let us rise above the things of the world. The pure intention that we put into our daily work is the magic wand that changes it all into gold, and the Christian virtues that we practice blossom forth as so many odoriferous flowers wherever we pass. And whilst faithful to the divine commands and to the teachings of Holy Church, let us discharge our duties, however humble, and the angels will defend us from dangers and faithfully note our good works. They will accompany us to the sojourn of the good God, where our joy and happiness will be complete. I will not preach to you, my dear young ladies, for you have heard many sermons in past years in the college. You know the way. You have the arms to combat with. So I will content myself by expressing the firm trust I have in my heart, that even after you leave the college, you will show yourselves worthy of whatever state of life to which God has called you, that you will impart to others the lights you have received, always calling to mind that life is short, and that we have only one soul which will live eternally in the abode either of glory or of suffering, according as we have prepared for ourselves either the one or the other in this life. The thought of the 4 last things to be remembered made a saint of St. Teresa. May the holy and the tremendous truths of our holy faith strengthen you not only in the trials of life against the false illusions of the world that try to deceive you, but let them incite you to do as much as you can for the students of the normal schools who will be entrusted to your care, so that they may become not only cultured, but well founded in the maxims of that holy faith, which is the ark, outside which there is no salvation. God bless you now in your examinations, in your scholastic career, and in your state of life, so that you may render it fruitful to the church, country, and society. Mother Frances Xaviera Cabrini, Superior General of the Missionary Sisters of the Sacred Heart, Denver, Colorado, May 9th, 1905. When I was in Bethlehem, our group had just visited the spot where Christ was born. And a pilgrim asked, "How do we know this is the spot where Christ was born?" Our Israeli-born guide asked the women in the crowd, "Mothers, do you know where all your children were born?" And we all answered yes. He then smiled to the person who asked the question and said, "Mary knew too, and she told people, just like the rest of the mothers here tell people where their children are born." Mary's situation was a bit different than most, as her son was born in a cave. That was a surprise to me when I visited the Holy Land. A lot of things are in caves. There aren't really a lot of trees around, and so the poorer people would have lived in caves or stone homes. And so it wasn't weird when you get there to see that the stable that Christ was born in was actually a cave. But back to the guide's question. Yes, I can tell you where each of my kids were born and the name of the hospital. And each one of my children has been born in a different state. But it is significant to me to know where they took their first breath and where I labored to bring them into the world. Recently, I got to visit the hospital I was born in Wichita, Kansas. As I told you previously, my dad made mention to me one day that I was born in a Catholic hospital, St. Joseph's. I knew that, but for whatever reason at that moment when he reminded me, it really meant a lot for me to go see it. I wasn't raised Catholic, as you know, and so it just was really significant to me that I was born in a Catholic hospital. So on our recent road trip, I went to visit it and I took a picture outside. It was kind of weird to think that a little over 46 years ago, my young parents went to that hospital and I entered the world. I can't tell you exactly why this all of a sudden became so important to me, but it did. Before visiting St. Joseph's Hospital, I bought a book written by a sister from the Order of St. Joseph about the very hospital I was born in. Imagine there being a book about that. Well, for my hospital, there is. Wichita was a booming city back in the day, and a hospital was needed, as were nurses. The Order of St. Joseph came to fill that need as nurses and started a nursing school there in Wichita that totally reformed the nursing profession. What was interesting to read was that a long time ago, or even not that long ago, as we read today with Mother Cabrini, hospitals were seen only as places you went to die. So people weren't super keen on going to them, and that's why doctors continued to make house calls for a very long time, even into the 20th century. Most women gave birth at home, and so kids grew up living in the very house where they took their first breath. But with time and advancements in procedures and cleanliness, the view of hospitals began to change, and more people started to go there when they were sick or needed to give birth. This is a big reason why the numbers of mothers dying in childbirth began to decline in the Western world. The women had a medical staff right there to assist if things went wrong. I know that I would not be here if it hadn't been for the superior medical staff tending to me after my first daughter was born. And if by some chance I had survived that labor and delivery, neither me nor my second daughter would have survived her birth. So I am very grateful for our modern hospitals and amazing medical professionals. If you look around the country, there are hundreds of hospitals, and a lot of them had their start as Catholic hospitals, and many of them are still to this day. It was the dedication and fortitude of women like St. Frances Cabrini that brought these much-needed institutions to the sick, and I think sometimes we take that for granted, all the things that they established for us. Like I told you before, the hospital founded by Mother Cabrini in Chicago no longer exists. But what a vital need she filled by establishing it. As I can imagine, the building just became too old and too small for such a large city. So, Catholic pilgrims, do you know where you were born? Were you born at home or were you born in a hospital? It's always interesting to see where your first breath was taken. That's all for today. I'll see you back here soon to start the third and last letter to the Teachers College in Rome. Until then, live the faith boldly and travel well.